Saxon Algebra 1, Lesson 60. Welcome to a little dip into the pool of geometry. We're going to talk today about prisms and cylinders. And I can hear you. I know what you're thinking right now. You're thinking, what even is a prism and a cylinder? Like, I mean, I've heard of them, but what even are they? Let's look at John's lovely diagrams. And I will remind you. A prism is a shape that is three-dimensional. Okay, it's what we call a geometric solid, which means it has, it's three-dimensional. And it has a weird polygon base. So it's got straight sides, and it has straight sides that go straight up. So these are all examples of prisms. This is a leaning one. We're not going to deal with leaning too much. A little bit, but not a lot. Mostly we're going to deal with these. Notice if you look on the bottom, that's a triangle, that's a rectangle, that's like a trapezoid, and this is a pentagon. But they all have straight sides that go straight up, and so they're pretty easy to calculate. All right, we're going to talk about those, and then we're also going to talk about, that's a prism, right? Those are all prisms. A cylinder is different only that it has a circle at the bottom rather than a straight-sided object. So prisms go with polygons and cylinders go with circles, all right? Their bases are different kinds of shapes. But the way we calculate them is more or less the same. This is our favorite circular shape. It's called a right circular cylinder, and it sounds really complicated, but it is sweet and simple. All right, let's throw an equation out. It's not really even an equation, and you've already seen it before, so I'm sorry. This lesson is just not that much harder than anything else you've done. We've talked about the formula for volume before, and we've said that it's the area of the base times the height, right? We've talked about this. And Puffy Cloud of Knowledge, make sure it's inside your book cover. We've abbreviated it like this: volume equals area of the base times the height. Make sure right now that you have the long version and the short version in your cover of your book. Go ahead. I'll wait. I'll take a sip of my Pamplemousse LaCroix while you search around and see if you've got what you need written in your book. Okay, I hope you found it. Pause me if you need more time to shuffle around, but make sure that's in your book, because here's the good news. This formula will still work for prisms and cylinders. It just means that the area of the base might be a little bit of drama, but this works just fine for prisms and cylinders, and it's the same equation we've already had. So let's look at example 60.1 and see what we've got. The area of a base of a right pentagonal prism. Okay, what all that means is that right is good news. It means that the sides form a right angle with the base. That's what we want. That makes it so much easier. Later we'll learn about sloping sides, but right now our sides are straight and life is simple. Pentagonal means the bottom is a pentagon. Okay. Prism means that it has straight sides up and it's three-dimensional. The area of the base is 28 centimeters squared, and the length of a lateral edge, that's like the folded crease, right? The length of the lateral edge is 10 centimeters. Find the volume of the right pentagonal prism. All right, first I just want to show you, if you're not sure what a lateral edge is, these diagrams here on page 243, because you probably don't have your book with you, but see how they have all of the different parts of it labeled if you're not sure. I'm not going to write all that in the notes because that's just an exercise in writing a lot. But you can look here in the book and use these as a reference if you were like, lateral edge, I don't know what that is. Oh, look, there it is right there. Okay? A lateral edge is different than a lateral face. The edge is like the sharp crease, and the face is like the side. All right, for what that's worth. Okay, let's go back to ours, though, because this is such an easy problem. Okay, so we get all nervous because we go, it's a pentagon. How am I going to find the area of the base if it's shaped like a pentagon? Guess what? John tells us. He says the area of the base equals 28 centimeters squared. And then he said the length of the lateral edge equals, what did he say, 10 centimeters? Well, guess what? The lateral edge is just a fancy name for saying the height. So all we have to do for this problem is multiply the area of the base, 28, times the height, and he even chose such easy numbers, 280 centimeters, and it's volume, so it's always 3 dimensions. That's the answer. What? It's not that hard. Oh my gosh, look at how deranged my smiley face is. That's okay. As long as you're still smiling, you're not really deranged, are you? Well, I guess I could take exception with that because the Joker. But you know what I'm saying. That's just a friendly little face. Have you guys ever heard of a disease called Belle's palsy? I had it. It's nuts. It's where, due to some little, usually it's a virus that instigates it, but what happens is that the facial nerves on one side of your face, it doesn't happen to both sides, it only happens to one side, they all, they get irritated and they stop working. And so half of your face goes like slack and the other half is normal, which means you can't smile, you can't blink, you can't raise your eyebrows. One side of your face is just frozen and then the other side continues. Google it. It is the weirdest thing in the world. It's called Belle's palsy. I had it a couple years ago. It is the weirdest thing in the world because it just happens. I just woke up one morning and there it was. And it took months for it to go all the way away. It was freakish. So that's what I'm thinking of with that crazy little smiley face. Okay. So we figured out volume. Let's talk about surface area. And let me add one more word to that. Lateral. I'll show you what that means in the picture. The lateral surface area is equal to okay, if you want the lateral surface area, and let me show you a picture. This is our shape that we're going to be doing in our problem. The lateral surface area means the sides, not the top, not the bottom, but just the side part. Lateral means sides, right? Like your lats are your side muscles, right? On the sides of your abdomen. Lateral means side, so it's just this side, all the sides. You would have to add the top and the bottom if you wanted the complete surface area, but lateral means the sides. So the way that we do that, imagine you have a box cutter knife, and imagine this is made out of cardboard. What we're going to do is we're going to cut it. We're going to cut the top off, we're going to cut the bottom off, and then we're going to cut along one of those lateral edges and flatten that cardboard out. Now, let's pretend that it's the kind of cardboard that lays perfectly flat. There is no such kind. But you know how usually if you do this with cardboard, it'll be all like, it won't lay flat? This lies perfectly flat. So now what we can see is that the 5 sides of this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, represents the 5 sections, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what we saw is that each one of these is 8 inches or whatever it is. Oh, they're meters. 8. So each one of these is 8. So if we find the perimeter of the pentagon, which would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times 8, there it is. It's exactly the same. So we take the perimeter and we multiply it by the height. Okay? And this is our problem. Let me just read it to you. It says, find the lateral surface area of this right prism whose bases are regular pentagons. A regular pentagon just means that it's got the 5 sides, right? 1, 2, 3. See, I'm not drawing it right. Every one of these is perfectly even. Mine is a fail, okay? But a regular pentagon means that all the sides are even. And that's what we saw in our picture. I'll show you again. Because there are the 5 sides. We're told they're regular, so we know if one of them's 8, they're all 8. And then the height is 15. So what I like to do for these problems, this is example 60.2, and it's the only other problem for this lesson. I like to draw my cardboard lying down. It's got 5 sections. You can draw them dotted if you want. I don't always take the trouble to do that. Okay, I'm going to pretend I drew that perfectly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that's a pentagon. Each one of these was 8. So I know that the total perimeter equals 40. And then the height of it is 15. And John told us that. He said, oh, he drew the picture for us and he labeled it on there. So all we have to do is multiply 40 times 15. And I know that 15 times 2 is 30. So 15 times 4 would be 60. And then 15 times 40. See how I'm doing that? I'm doing it in my head. I'm ignoring the 0. 4 times 15. Okay, every pair of 15s make a 30. So the first 2 make 30, and then the second 2 make a second 30. That makes 60, and now I multiply it by 10. So it's 600 meters squared. Lateral surface area is an area, so it's always squared. Volume is 3-dimensional, so it's cubed. All right? Okay, that is lesson 60. Quite the turning point in our lives. Wouldn't you agree? I feel so much smarter knowing that I can calculate prisms and cylinders. I will talk to you guys on the video chats on Thursday or Friday. Enjoy lesson 60. Goodbye.